What's up, guys? It's coaches Jordan, Kristen, and Megan. Today, this is just kind of a special video we're going to be doing for those of you who are either actively using our extra work email, or you have the question on a regular basis of like, what else can I do today? So inevitably, as someone does CrossFit for a long period of time, or is just really interested in getting better at doing CrossFit, they're usually going to ask for more work, okay? And what we're going to explore today a little bit is what's appropriate to do to actually do more and make progress, because it is far more likely that you will do more and impede yourself from making progress. There is such a thing as doing too much, and it happens a lot faster than people realize. So we're going to talk about how to use or how people should be using the extra work with the a la carte method. So basically picking and choosing from the extra work instead of just trying to do everything that's listed there. And I'm going to go ahead and say that 90% of the people that are on extra work should be doing the extra work in this way and not trying to follow it as written, especially if you're starting it in the middle of a training cycle. So just a few points that I want to make, and then we're going to discuss a little bit. Priority number one is your class programming. The class programming is written in such a way that it accommodates for what types of movements are done on what day, so you're not overtraining, what types of energy systems are done on what day, what types of skills are being taught on what day, to allow for you to progress from week to week. If you suddenly pull yourself out of a couple of days of that to do some extra work stuff, you wind up losing on the long term or in the long run, because you're missing something that's crucial. The stuff we put in our day-to-day programming is essential. That's the stuff that we're telling you needs to happen on a regular basis for you to increase your fitness the way that CrossFit dictates we increase our fitness on a broad scale. So we're addressing more than just one thing, one element of our fitness, right? So it's very easy just to pick 2 or 3 things that you like and think that it's just okay to train those things all the time. But believe it or not, your heart and lungs need to be healthy, just like your legs need to be strong, okay? So that's the biggest thing to understand, is that this is supplemental to your regular programming. So the first question that I would ask if you're someone that's looking for more to do on a day is, you know, how are you actually already doing all of the days that you could possibly be doing? And I know, we all know, that some of you can only get in here 4 days a week. So this question can be different from person to person. There may be room for, if you can only train 4 times a week and you miss something that you wanted to do the day before, to do that thing that you missed the day before, okay? So keep that in mind as we kind of explore this. Just know that priority one is the class program. So again, if you missed something the day before, we would tell you to do the thing from the day before. Now, the intended use for the a la carte model is as extra practice, guided extra practice on perceived weak points. So if I want to improve my snatch, one of the best things that I can do if I'm just getting started with adding extra stuff is just pick a day to practice my snatch. So inevitably in class, we're going to give you some feedback on some aspect of your snatch that could be better. So let's say like you're not very good at using power position, okay? So if you wanted to practice your snatch more, you choosing an arbitrary percentage and doing a complex that starts from the floor that doesn't make you better at using your power position makes no sense. You won't get better at snatching because you're not fixing the lift from power position. So what you should be doing if you're wanting to use the extra a la carte work is looking at the day that we have snatch practice added in there and adding your own complex from what your coach has given you feedback in class, and picking up something like an empty bar, or maybe like 40 to 60%, and practicing it until it's perfect. Give yourself 8 to 10 sets of just practice so that your movement gets better, so that in class, inevitably, when we give you another heavy snatch day in class, you're better at the thing that you're not good at. If you just hammer a bunch of reps at heavy weights poorly, you will come back to your next snatch session worse. The same thing is true about pull-up progressions. If your goal is to do some extra pull-up work, we tell you guys in class this all the time, like doing some extra bicep curls or single arm rows or ring rows or banded pull-ups or negatives, that's a great thing to do. Well, with the extra work, you can kind of look and see where we plug in some extra bodybuilding work, and it will even have some of that already put in there for you that you can just go ahead and do. And we put that in there in that way so that you can plug that from class when coach says, hey, you could benefit from some extra single arm rows and some extra bicep curls. You can look at that list and be like, hey, where is that on the list? I'm gonna do that day because I wanna work on that specific thing. Again, not intending for you to just take some random weight that's listed on there and just do it. You need to do it in a way that makes sense for you, okay? So hopefully that point makes sense, and these two will tear me apart if I miss some stuff, which will be good. So then don't try to follow the percentages if you're doing this a la carte. All right, so I'm gonna draw a little diagram. Training works like this over time, as far as the stimulus we give you guys. Okay, this concept is called periodized linear progression, okay? So everything moves up eventually over time in a straight line. As people train over a long period of time, eventually you have to break that up a little bit. So when you're a beginner with anything, your training kind of just moves in a straight line. We can just give you something that's a little bit heavier every week and your body will adapt to it as long as you don't go too heavy too fast, okay? The same thing is true with like learning to run further. The same thing is true with getting more handstand push-ups. Same thing is true with adaptation for your body in general. If you want to do something up here and you're down here, you have to add small steps to get to it. You can't just jump off the cliff and hope you somehow wind up here. All right, it won't work. So if you decide in week 2 of month 2 to start doing the extra work email, when you should be getting this stimulus, all of a sudden you're doing so much extra work that you're getting this stimulus. That's not sustainable. You'll get hurt or you won't be able to complete it. You'll get burnt out and you won't be able to train the next day in class, which again, this is the priority. You won't be able to do the classwork the next day because you'll be so wiped out because you're trying to do a percentage that was written for somebody who has been doing it since day 1 and has already built up the stamina and the endurance and the ability to do extra work plus classwork by jumping in right here, assuming that you should just do these percentages the way they're written, okay? Don't try to do the full-on extra work unless you've done the a la carte extra work to the point where you've gotten additional practice on each day and you've gone through a full cycle of doing just that additional practice each day. Then the next training cycle, talk to a coach and be like, hey, I'm actually able to make the time to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym a day training, and I've enjoyed doing the extra work. Do you think I should go ahead and commit to doing what's listed at the percentage is written? And we'll give you some feedback on whether we think you should do that or not, right? What's so important about this is it's not about us not thinking you could do something or can't do something. I wouldn't do that. Like, I wouldn't have any of my coaches do that, and I wouldn't have any of my clients do that, and nor do I want any of our members to do that, which is why we're making this video. So we want you guys to succeed. So if you approach it in this way and add practice instead of just trying to jump right in and follow a bunch of percentages, you'll actually improve because you'll get better at the things that you're not as good at. But if you just send it, you won't. So we had a good conversation about some of this earlier. I'm gonna let you guys kind of interject as you'd like and say a couple things that you think are relevant to people with this topic.
Okay. So just want to commend you guys, like the effort is there, the intention's there to get better and to progress, right? Something that I have found helpful recently is prioritizing the class stimulus that we're asking you to get every single time you walk into the gym. Okay, so that means if I'm asking you to sprint on the bike for 2 hard minutes or 3 hard minutes, or sustain at a steady pace on a long day at a nasal breathing pace, or to push at a moderate pace during a 15-minute EMOM, then those stimuluses in class are the priority in your training. Okay, so we don't want to limit our recovery or limit our ability to be able to get from class what we're asking you to do and the coaches briefing videos or as coaches in class. Okay, it's so fulfilling for you to feel like you got a good workout in and that you exceeded expectations in your workout, and you know, back to that training diagram, you're getting better every time. Okay, the next thing, to follow Jordan's point, is something that's definitely helped me is thinking about one cue that I've received from a coach or from Jordan, or feedback I've gotten from coaches on how to improve my weaknesses. So when I prioritize extra work or extra training, I'm thinking about that one specific cue in my snatch or my clean or whatever I'm working on for the day, and I'm working at percentages or from positions that will allow me to succeed in getting better at that one cue. Maybe that takes time to write it down on a whiteboard, or maybe you need to video yourself and take the time to like set up and see how your warm-up is for the day. But if you can prioritize that and think about the intent behind why you're doing something, that will help you move the needle in your progress in the extra work, as opposed to just trying to create more volume for yourself when the capacity is not necessarily there yet, and you still have room to grow into that.
So even as someone who has gotten to the point where you're accommodating for all the extra work, in that you're eating enough, you're recovering enough, and you've worked your way into being able to do all the extra work, you've made the 1.5 to 2 hours a day commitment to do it, you're still modifying some of the things that I put in there to better meet your needs.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. And like honestly too, like sometimes guys, I'm short on time in my days. So the very first priority I have is class programming. Like that's the reason we have level systems in our workouts, is because maybe you're still at level 1 or 2. Prioritizing class, guys, will help you fill in those gaps to get you into like the next level, right? There are standards and there are movements in there and progressions and lifts that we're looking for each of those steps. So prioritizing the time to get in here for class is going to help you move the needle more so even than just like doing random extra work, okay? But it's all about prioritizing that stimulus, and like Jordan said, like once volume increases, like it's even that more important to get your nutrition dialed in, to like prioritize sleep and rest, to take an off day or a rest day when you need to on those Saturdays when the gym's closed. So how you're monitoring all of that will also help you when you get in here as well.
Right. Helps with the attitude.
Yeah.
Yep. I would like to also feed off of what Megan said with the videos. I know sometimes people have said they just don't like to watch themselves on videos, or they feel uncomfortable setting up their phone in the gym or whatever, but that's the only way. If you don't have a coach's set of eyes on you, you need to be videoing your lifts specifically, because how do you know what you're doing? You might think you feel something, but you can't visually see that. And while we might not always be available to watch your videos or see them with you, or we're not in here watching you because we're coaching classes or we're training someone, it's a way for you to, you know, you have the video for later down the road, so that you can compare them whenever you do get better. It's always fun to look back at those things and be like, wow, that looks really bad, and look at these now. Or when you've been working on something, to see the progress that you've made on those things. Or, you know, again, just like I said, we can't always be there to watch you, but maybe we have a second and another day or something, and you have those videos available so that we can go back and review them with you. And you can do that during class too. I mean, when you're working on your snatches, because as coaches, we can't watch everybody at one time. So I know Coach Becca's really good about encouraging people to record their videos. And then I was also going to reiterate the thing about sleep, recovery, nutrition. Guilty of it myself. Like, you have to take a step back. If you know that you've had a really busy week, or you've had a really stressful week, or you've just had some outlying thing going on, you have to know that those things are going to spill over into other parts of your life, and they're definitely going to affect your training. So if your nutrition's not on point, if your stress levels are high, or if you're just not sleeping well, that's going to affect your performance in the gym. But if you still feel like you need to do something for that day, come in and again, prioritize your classwork not the extra work, or focus on just like really beating yourself into the ground, or just really driving your body even further, pushing yourself, because that's when we kind of reach those over fatigue points and either break our bodies or cause injuries and even more stress. So
well, on that same note, if you are hitting a point in life where you normally do the extra work, and just life gets crazy, like I've had it happen where I've mid-cycle, just I can't put the time into either it's like if it comes to the point where I'm gonna sleep less to try to do more work in the gym, that's so backwards, because it eventually, like, I'm just gonna hurt myself. It's inevitable. I won't recover enough, and if I'm not recovering enough, I'm not getting the benefit from my training. So if I instead say, hey, look, I'm gonna take that hour from my training and just pull out the extra work and just really focus on putting everything into my class time, I'm gonna get the stimulus of class and the stimulus of that additional recovery, and I'll actually be better at the end of that training cycle because of it. The only thing doing more work does is it creates a bigger stimulus that you have to recover from. So if you're not recovering from the smaller stimulus to begin with, making a bigger stimulus just puts you in a bigger amount of debt physically. And eventually that's got to go somewhere. So your body's going to stop you at some point. So make sure that what you're choosing to do is recoverable. All right. That's probably the biggest thing that we can close on with this. And I know we've had people pull off the extra work, just do that, wind up doing better, and then come back in on the extra work and be just fine, right? We've even had people just doing same model with just regular classes. If you get super stressed out working on training maxes, just to bring your level of stress in the gym down a little bit and come back at the end of a training cycle having worked on training maxes and PR, okay? So your training has to be recoverable. If you're beating the crap out of yourself all the time for no reason, just to check a box, you're making a mistake. You're not gonna get better. Doing more is not inherently better if you cannot recover from it. All right? Guys, hope this was helpful.
I was gonna say one more
thing.
Sorry. One more thing, just to reiterate on the purpose of the extra work, and perfect example of like just checking that box. Don't just do the things to do the things. Do the things with purpose, but also if you have a question about something, make sure that you're doing the right thing, because I've definitely seen people trying to do certain movements and they're not even doing them correct. So if you're doing that, then you're just messing up other parts of things if you're not doing the extra thing correctly.
Yeah. And if you'd like additional feedback and a place to ask more questions, the Discord channel is open now, and it's an additional $20 a month. It'll give you a place to put those videos. I jump on there multiple times a week and give feedback. It's just, we have to accommodate for that time. Anyways, guys, we good?
Yeah, good.
Hope that was helpful. See you guys.